I'm Yvonne Adele. You can send some questions through for our panel by just chucking them on Twitter with the hashtag Blockchain Week 2022, and I will keep an eye on that. But I'll have our panellists introduce themselves first of all, and hello to everyone on the live stream. I know we sometimes forget you, but we're here for you. All right, Bronwyn, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name's Bronwyn Clune. You spell my name Bronwyn W-E-N-I-R-L, but online in NFT land I'm Bronwyn Y-N, just to confuse everyone. My project is the Crypto Art Appreciation Society, and it was fantastic to see these artists up here today talking about the real opportunity that NFTs have opened up to them. So this was the thing that really excited me when I came into the space. And I took the idea of a PFP, a profile picture project, and thought about how can we use this to help and elevate artists and help people understand the kind of art revolution that is really happening out here in NFTs. So my project, the Crypto Moz, actually takes funds from a PFP project and pays 6 ETH to artists from all around the world. We've got 14 artists from Africa, Italy, Sweden, a couple from Australia, from everywhere, and we're actually funding them to create artwork with 6 ETH, and that all of that goes back to our holders. So we're very excited about the kind of art, the opportunity that NFTs are opening for artists, and that's what we're about.
Thank you, Bronwyn. And Boot from the Lucid Planet.
Yep, so my name is Boot, that's spelled B-O-O-T. And so I launched the collection, The Lucid Planet. We actually just had our launch last week, so I am quite sleep deprived, but I'm happy to be
sold
here today.
out?
Yeah, sold out. I mean, that's the metric of success. And so that is a choose-your-own-adventure kind of collaborative storytelling project. So we really wanted to kind of look at what's the future of NFTs? Like, what can we do in terms of the project space to differentiate ourselves from the traditional narrative that's been popular over the last 12 months? So we thought, okay, let's look to capitalize on using the community to drive the story forward and to have co-contributions from them to sort of build in an intimate space, and at the end of this have probably, I'm not sure if it's the first, but ideally the first co-collaboratively written story and have it all on chain.
It's kind of like an NFT escape room.
Yeah, essentially. So
It's cool.
There's a cryptography element to it as well. We essentially also minted a language to the blockchain.
Yeah.
So we looked into the Phoenician alphabet and kind of got some themes there, and minted this glyph system whereby we have a language now that some of these, like, I guess, deities within our project talk in this kind of encoded language, and you have to solve the codes to unlock parts of the storyline, and then that storyline, you could make the wrong choice as a community and then lead you down a dark path kind of thing. So kind of
just quickly, just for the people who are in the room who are chatting, just a quick reminder that all of the panelists and everyone appearing up here today is donating their time and volunteering their time for you. And I know one of the great things about getting together at a conference is chatting, but if you could take it on the other side of the window, that would be fantastic, because the people in the room want to listen. Thank you. All right.
And one chat equals one follow of @lowercase boot. So just
@lowercase boot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rosh, introduce your couple of hats that you wear.
Yeah, thanks, Yvonne. So my name's Rosh. I'm here representing DAO Under, and DAO Under is a community of builders. So we have sort of collaborated, or we're a group of people who've come together and we've built our own projects in this Web3 space. And what we wanted to do was lift the standard of Web3, I think, for everyone in this APEC region. So we've made mistakes, all of us, and we wanted to share those mistakes, and we also wanted to share our learnings with everybody in the community so that they don't have to be afraid of entering this space. They can learn how to create their own wallets if they're brand new. They can start projects on their own, and they have a community of people who are there to support them. And that's something that I think has been missing in this space for a while. And so that's why we exist. We're a community-run, community-led, community-funded initiative. We'll have some really big events later on in this year, like ETH Down Under. And we will also be doing a NFT launch midway through the year to fund a physical space for everyone to come. So we're not the second-class citizen anymore. We can become the first-class citizen in that space.
Yeah, that's cool. And Tim Lee.
Yes, hi, my name's Tim Lee, CEO of Walking Between Worlds. We are empowering global Indigenous communities to capitalize on NFTs. And we have launched the first of 3 collections from 4 genuine Indigenous artists. So it's the world's first generative collection by Indigenous artists. And the ultimate aim is to roll this out as a global structure to empower global communities, Indigenous communities collectively. And we will be, we're working on we'll be releasing a community token funding raise as of the end of next week. We'll be putting that out, where we can actually build an entire platform that empowers from the bottom up Indigenous communities. As a community, Indigenous artists and Indigenous communities suffer from a massive digital divide, and that creates real problems. And so it's about empowering Indigenous communities to get them onto a level playing field to compete with global artists. And when they get to that level, it's up to them to then sell their art. But it's about empowerment of global Indigenous communities.
And one of the other things I notice in the Discord with your project, Tim, is that you have done an incredible job of illustrating to, lay collectors like me, some of the stealing of art that goes on by huge corporates of First Nations artists.
Yeah, there's one of our artists. I mean, we've got 2 internationally known artists and 2 up-and-coming artists. But the second, Bibi Baba, that Yvonne's referring to, her art was, she actually picked up that her art was actually stolen. And it was used by a Polish resort, a luxury resort, where all the carpets, all the wall coverings, even the tables were designed using her art. And it's only when she found that through a friend of hers that referenced it that she then had to try and protect her interests. And no lawyer locally would actually help her do that because it was an international case, yada, yada, yada. She went to law school, studied, and 8 years later, she's got the judgment to actually get the ownership of her art and get recognition, and hopefully there'll be a payout coming out.
And she's just incredible too. She has some really good conversations.
Oh, she's, I mean, she's an amazing woman. But I mean, it really shows how there's a massive misappropriation of cultural art, of art in general terms, and Indigenous art in particular. So, we've been working on this project for 12 months, and it's been painstakingly patient to be involved in this project. But, I wake up in the morning and I say, it has to be done. And we've got a team of 12 who've all worked pro bono for the last 12 months on the project. So it's something
so just in
really,
case you missed
really
the name at the beginning, it's called Walking Between Worlds, and it's WBWNFT. So Bronwyn, let's just on that subject of some of the challenges that the ecosystem is facing right now. What would you class as some of the major challenges that projects are facing right now?
Well, I think that the hardest thing for projects is still getting the word out there because, as much as we talk about a decentralized ecosystem, you've really got to catch the attention of some of the influencers in the space. And we sort of have gone through a period where you had a lot of people last year who kind of referred to as the 2021 influencers, where a lot of people pitched up and decided to tell everyone they were the experts, amassed these massive followings, and a lot of them were pumping their bags to people. And so I think a lot of the a lot of the criticism that comes towards NFTs about it being a Ponzi scheme, like externally we all say no, but internally the truth is it happens quite a lot. So really the hardest thing is, holding the line and being true to your values and actually deciding you're going to build and you're going to build with intention, because ultimately, the real the reality is a lot of projects are getting up because of who they know and who is pumping them, and not about what they're doing. So I think, the big challenge is actually staying right now where the space is a little bit difficult to get projects up, and really staying the course and just building. And I think we'll get through it. But right now, still getting the word out when you're doing something meaningful. It's still pretty much the projects who are, have money to pump and dump that are getting the attention largely, is the truth.
I have the celebrities or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but what about from the international perspective? What are some of the challenges when it comes to the international nature of the projects?
Look, I think the biggest challenges for us here in Australia is as much as we want to say there's we have a lot of talent here, there's been a lack of trying to bring that talent together, right? So in working on projects projects. Last year, I was working internationally exclusive. So I was working across 5 different time zones running projects, right? So 3:30 a.m. meeting with the devs, 6 a.m. meeting with the team. Then I would go to work, finish work, have another catch-up meeting with the team, then a 10 p.m. meeting with my artist in Spain, right? And so the fact that we can do that is amazing, that we can work internationally in the space like that. But I feel that, and I feel that everybody in this room is probably going to echo that sentiment, it's great to be able to have this talent pool here at Blockchain Australia to draw upon and potentially to get together and build projects in the space together. Because the talent is in Australia, it's just that there
In the
isn't a
same
forum.
time zone. Yeah, we're not
and-
robots.
Well, I mean, as much as we can say we want to work 9 to 5, NFTs aren't 9 to 5, they're 24/7, but let's bring it back. Let's make sure there's not so much founder burnout, right? Let's make sure that we can have a healthy mental attitude towards NFTs and take this long term and have a 5-year plan about it, as opposed to do one project, have a heart attack, and then have to retire.
Yeah, makes sense. Rosh, speaking of getting a project ready, you know, with one of your other hats on as Rhapsody Labs, you helped Tiger and a streetwear brand launch their first NFT, and so you could see behind the scenes how important that very last 1% is. That you have a bit to say about not just feeling like it's just right enough at 99%. When you know something's wrong behind the scenes, what you know, unfold that a bit more.
Yeah, so one of the things which we've learned in this space is that for everybody here, like smart contracts are just robots, right? So they will take an input and deliver an output, but it is incredibly unforgiving. So if you are doing a multiplication and it comes 3 times 5, you get 15, right? But if it's 15.000002, it'll fail. And unfortunately in this space, NFTs trade on momentum, right? And if you have any sort of like little bugs or little gremlins in the system, it can absolutely kill your project. And we've had issues like this before. We've overcome them. And that's really where Yvonne's coming from here. Like, there is a huge difference between 99% right and 100% right. Because if you're 99% right and it's the wrong 1% that is wrong, it's straight flat zero. And I think that's important for brands out there, that you want to work with people who have experience in the space and have lived through some of these nightmares. Because yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it can be hard. And particularly if you have something to lose, like a brand, you want to make sure that you get it right. So in the context of DAO Under, like, there's a whole bunch of builders, as I said, and we've all made different mistakes along the way, but collectively we are doing what Boot was just talking about, which is coming together, learning from each other's mistakes, making sure that we don't repeat them, and sharing that knowledge with other people as well, so that collectively we're improving ourselves as an industry. And we're doing that in this time zone, so we're not getting this burnout. I know I feel it. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, Brian, I don't envy you. I think you'll be in the same boat as well. Like, yeah, it's important. We need to look after ourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the examples you gave me was just perfect context, really, was about, you know, when you're trying to get things done quickly and you're trying to meet that launch date, you will rely on things like JavaScript, template calculations, which then turn out to, you know, mess up some, you know, maximum mint volume or whatever, rather than actually coding the calculation from the get-go. Those sorts of things
Yeah.
you can learn from the mistakes and then teach them.
Exactly,
to others.
exactly. So what you can code for sort of like prettiness, and you can code for reliability. And in this space, you definitely want to code for reliability because there are no second chances when it comes to a public mint. So yeah, that's absolutely a key learning for us.
Yeah, you can't just turn sentiment around as quickly as you can make it
Exactly.
disappear.
Yeah.
So Tim, let's go back to your project for a minute. What are some of the hurdles involved with getting that project up around sort of trust issues and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key issues is the issue of trust with the Indigenous communities. And I mean, I don't want to get into a political diatribe about it, but the colonial legacies globally that have affected Indigenous communities means there's a severe lack of trust. And as a white, middle-aged Englishman, I am the last person that should be driving this project. But the great thing is, we've actually got a co-founder who's Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander herself, and she is a global expert in Indigenous well-being and suicide prevention. And we've been working together since June last year when I pitched her. And in 20 minutes, she said, I'm in. She just saw where we were going. And so as a result, we've built trust, but it has to be earned. It can never be assumed. Even now, we have to be incredibly careful because there's this undercurrent of when are these guys going to stitch us up? We've got more trust that we've been working with the artists now for a while, but there's always that undercurrent that comes through. So trust has been a major issue that we have to earn rather than taking as an assumption.
Yeah. So Bronwyn, let's move on to this whole, female founder, female-led projects thing. I know you can get a bit feisty when it comes to this topic.
I can.
And let's hear it all.
Yeah, look, I think there's been a lot of focus on, I say women, guys, and I have a South African accent,
South
but I
African
mean it
accents
plural.
and New Zealand accents. When they say women, it sounds like they're saying woman plural.
I'm saying
so just get it. I'm trying to teach her to say women.
She tried to teach me before, I just can't say it.
I said it's
sorry.
winning women.
Anyway, you're just going to have to put up with the accent. So there's been a lot of focus about, more representation of women out there in the NFT ecosystem. And we've seen this real big rise of, women avatars, which is, and women PFP projects that are led by women. But I'm finding it really hard to see where women outside of that very particular narrow space we've been told to tread on, which is your job here is to create women projects. There's not many of us getting support outside of that. My collection is actually all men. The Moes all have moustaches, which I didn't realise was, there you go, you've got a Mo sitting next to me. I didn't realise no one outside of Australia didn't know what a Mo was. I'm like, everyone's like, what's a Mo? And I'm like, a moustache.
But they have Movember all around the world. They should know.
But the 10 most rare in my collection are all women, and they have the biggest perks. So that was my little feminist twist in there. But I do think it's, really tough as a woman founder still to kind of find support outside of, the Randy Zuckerbergs and the other sort of people who are out there championing women. It's almost like the message to us is you're supported if you do this, but if you're doing anything else, I'm sorry, you're on your own. So I still think it is something we really have to address. And I do think it's still pretty tough for women out there to be heard in a space that is still very much dominated by men outside of that very particular area of NFTs.
Yeah. So has anyone got anything to add about the challenges or advocacy in this sort of area?
Yeah, I think that it's an important conversation to have. And I was on a Spaces this morning and I said, we shouldn't even be having the conversation. It should just be de facto the position that's happening. It shouldn't be, Web3 is not about being led by any one, entity, gender, or whatever gender you identify with. It should be free and it should be open to all and inclusive, but it's not. And we have to have, and unfortunately we have to have these discussions at these kind of events to make people aware, even in an unconscious way, that they may be thinking and limiting the access to people to be coming onto these projects. Yeah. And I'm in a privileged position to be talking about this as a man running a project myself, but I would like, very much to not ever have to have this conversation, and hopefully we can get there one day.
Yeah. Tim?
I'd love just to take a slightly contrarian position in terms of, first of all, I'm completely in favour of female empowerment before we go any further.
Oh, good.
But the reality of the market in terms of where it is, I've been in the space professionally since 2015, and we're in the development phase, we're in the technical phase. And as a result, every meetup I go to, generally speaking, or have been to over the past 7 years, it's been 95% men, because engineers tend to be male-dominated. I'm not suggesting that's the right thing, but that's just a fact. So I think if there are parties that want to do it, male, female, black, white, Chinese, whatever it might be, there is the opportunity there. There's nothing actually holding anybody back. It's just that the actual very nature and intrinsic nature of where we are in the market, it's at that development phase. So it's a contrarian view, but I'm supportive.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We
That sounds really patronising, and I don't mean it to be. I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
Okay, Rosh, can we just, because we're going to run out of time, so let's just move on to the cross between Web 2 and Web 3.
Sure.
Because you've got a really good take on how you describe Web 2 as build it and they will come, and Web 3 as for the community by the community. Let's go through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key differences between Web3 communities and Web2 communities is that it almost works in reverse. So one of the opportunities with Web3 is that you can actually fundraise before you actually build anything at all. Whereas with Web2, the expectation is that you build something, you iterate on it, you provide value and all the rest of it, and then you go to someone cap in hand and say, hey, please, can I have some money so that I can build this out further? The opportunity here, and I think this is something unique with NFTs specifically, is that you can sell an idea, get the funding, and then build the team, build the product that you want to, and that's very, very empowering for individuals. So we were talking about artists before. They previously have never had the opportunity to do that. And so that's amazing. Like, if you have an idea around like empowering women or doing something around Asian communities, you can build an NFT collection and a community, get it funded, and then build whatever it is you want. And that is intoxicating for anyone who feels frustrated about their individual situation, because you're no longer hamstrung by money. All it is now is your own creative capacity and your drive. If you have both of those two things, there's literally an entire universe of possibilities out there for you.
It's cost-free to get a proof of concept, right?
100%.
So, but what about you in that transition between, Web 2 projects and Web 3 projects? What's the difficulty or some of the issues?
Well, the difficulty is that we're still relying on Web 2 to underpin Web 3, right? So we're not actually there in terms of full transition. We're making the march towards that. But I mean, the fact that we're relying on platforms like Twitter and Discord to run these projects.
And OpenSea.
Yeah, and
We're
OpenSea.
Web 2.3.
Yeah, and we're halfway in between those two. So I think we're getting there and we're starting to make the transition, but it's going to be a couple of years before we can say that we are truly Web 3. But I mean, all signs are pointing in the right direction, and I think we're making positive strides towards that.
Yeah. Now, we have run out of time already. I told you it'd go quick, didn't I? There have been a couple of questions on Twitter, but I'm going to let you go to Twitter and answer those. So let's just, in a quick little finish up, because I know, Bronwyn, one of the things that you advocate for is that we often forget about the collectors. So let's hear from each of you about how important the collectors are in this world of NFTs.
So incredibly important, and particularly for artists. I think we're focused more and more on bringing artists to the space, but I think this is a real opportunity to get more people interested in collecting art, not just collectibles. And I really think this is an opportunity for us to all kind of really have our mind open by that, to something that we've kind of lost as a culture, that appreciation of arts and artists and their process and what they bring to community. So, I think collectors are really vital.
Yeah, I mean, collectors are the most important thing to you. They make your project or break your project. And I mean, you have a fiduciary duty to actually keep them happy. I mean, they've invested in you. They are investors. I mean, there's nothing without collectors and community. It's just something minted to the blockchain. So we 100% the most important thing.
Rosh and Tim, you get 2 words in. Use them wisely.
So they're everything.
Everything. Great. Tim?
Can I have 4?
Okay.
4 types of collectors, just to put it
Okay,
in context. You've got 4 types of collectors: the flippers, the traders, the collectors, and investors. Work out which one you want. If you want social impact projects like we're looking at, longer-term investors. Flippers will be those PFPs that are just constantly selling.
Okay, you'll find everyone's Twitter profiles on Twitter, where we posted about this topic. Thank you very much to my panel.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.